everybody. It's time, in case you didn't know, for another edition of my collection, my CD collection. It's been about 2 months or so since I did one of these. Just kind of haven't been in the mood for it. Been getting a lot of stuff in that necessitated videos for collection updates on their own. But it's time to get back to it. We got a lot of work to do yet. We're at the end. No, we're about in the beginning of the D's, and we have a long way to go. So last video we left off at the end of death. I didn't know there was an end of death, but there is. So alphabetically, next is what we're going to be looking at. But first, I thought I would tell you we're going to be listening to a unique album from Italy's Urna. The album is called Sepulchrum, MMVI, Roman numerals. Who uses those anymore? Come on. Really interesting sort of synthy, doom, black metal band. Really experimental stuff. I haven't listened to this in a really long time, and it just kind of left an indelible mark in my head that the other day I said, you know what? I haven't listened to Urna in a long time. I remember thinking that was pretty great. So I'm putting it on. That's weird. Anyway, so first band we've got here is Decrepitaph. I have about 3 Decrepitaph shirts and 4 Decrepitaph CDs because the main guy in Decrepitaph is a really good friend of mine, Wayne, who I talk about in my videos quite a bit. Mostly just because, like, I don't think I know anybody else who is as nerdy about metal as I am. And Wayne and I have known each other for 15, 20 years, and we've shared a lot of metal back and forth over the years. So this is his band. When he moved to Texas, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, he started this old school death metal band with a guy, and it was called Decrepitaph. They did some demos and eventually got signed to Razorback. And I think this is the debut full-length, Condemned Cathedral. Artwork by my buddy Mark. I don't know if you watch my channel, Mark, but if you do, hails. So this is when they were a 3-piece. I always forget that they were a 3-piece for a while. So that's my buddy Wayne. These guys had a lot of output over the short existence that they enjoyed. And their thing was death metal, the ancient way. A lot of Asphyx influence. That's, I think, Wayne's favorite band. And, you know, all the other bands that entail. I think I'm in there in this collage of photos. Yeah, there I am. Me and my Decrepitaph shirt. Anyways, this is on Razorback. I think I've been noticing, I haven't really looked into it much, but it seems like Razorback CDs are really highly sought after and kind of rare nowadays. I keep seeing them kind of pop up where people are looking for them or something. Like that Blood Freak I have, I think is kind of rare. Anyways, next Decrepitaph I have, and I actually did the layout for this back when they were first getting off the ground. This is Grotesque Dwellings, and this is just a kind of an EP CDR type deal. Yeah, limited to 100 copies. This is number 53. Can't remember if I did the entire layout on this or what. I got a lot of CDs that I forget that I did the layout for. Maybe it was just the back, because I know Mark did the front artwork. Anyways, this is really boring topic for me to discuss. Anyways, I do layout on albums every once in a while. It's been quite a while. But if you're in a band and you need some kind of Photoshop magic or something wizardry, get a hold of me and see what I can do. So this is Grotesque Dwellings. Honestly, I haven't listened to Decrepitaph in a really long time, so it's hard for me to differentiate. This one is like this, this one is like this, this one is like this. This is Ancient Dwellings out, yeah, it looks like a label that I've never heard of out of New York called Poveglia Records put this out. And it looks like this is actually Grotesque Dwellings and Ancient Death Metal. So it's kind of a reissue of this first EP and Ancient Death Metal, which I don't have. A lot of their releases were kind of like one-off, really demo-ish kind of EP sort of things, and then there were a lot of releases that collected those together. So their discography is kind of a nightmarish mess. But their stuff is all really killer and in the same style, just they never stop being productive in that ancient death metal style. And you can really go down a rabbit hole with these guys. This is also when they were a 3-piece. Some of that stuff. Yeah, I never heard of Poveglia Records. I'm not sure what the story is on that. And the last one, this is on Self-Made God Records, and this is called Forgotten Scriptures. The collection. So this is also another collection of 7 inches, demos, yada, yada, yada. Killer album cover on this. I really like that painting. Again, gory, old school death metal. So this is a collection of rehearsal tracks, split with Anatomia, Eternal Solstice, just all different kinds of stuff. A little bit of live stuff. They have been known to play a couple of shows. Also of note, this is the drummer of Incafonation, a band I think a lot of you guys are big on. Just killer. So now the metal kicks in with Erna. It's like huge atmospheric kind of synthy sort of doom at times, and then other times it's just kind of like almost like Parnassus, where like the synths are way up in your face but the black metal is kind of subdued in the background. Really strange sort of heady atmosphere to it all. Next band we've got here is Deeds of Flesh with Inbreeding the Anthropophagi. This came out on Repulse Records. I'm gonna guess maybe 98. Looks like this is the only Deeds of Flesh album that I have, and I've always really enjoyed it. Look at this stupid artwork. Look at what you could get away with back in the late 90s. I do kind of like Deeds of Flesh. They're a band I've never really been good at keeping tabs on. But I remember when MP3s were first a thing. I remember when I first heard about them and when I went home to my computer to look into this MP3 thing. I thought that an MP3 was just something that a band was sharing with you on their website, and you could have like either like half a song or like just one track off of their album, and that was what an MP3 was. And I didn't realize that an MP3 was something that you could also make at home on your from a CD. But I had half an MP3 from Deeds of Flesh, and I fucking loved it. I used to listen to the shit out of it when I first got on the internet. I remember going to their website, right-clicking on the file name and save as, and I downloaded that half a song, and it was from this album, and it was really fucking good. For me, it was at a time where I had just been knee-deep in the black metal in the late 90s and listened to really, like, nothing else for a couple of years. And so when a death metal band came along that interested me, it was pretty good. So this is Deeds of Flesh. I wound up buying it, I think, at a local store. And I remember when I bought it, I had them put it on in the store just to see people react. And there was like this hardcore kid in there, and he just like perked up and he was like, "Dude, those lows!" Like he had heard metal vocals, but there was only in the context where there were like high vocals and low vocals or something, or like screamo bands. He was super impressed with the lows, anyways. Killer band. I just don't really keep up with their discography at all. Eric Bauer was talking about one of their albums the other day. I wanted to say, was it? It wasn't Gradually Melted. I don't know. I shouldn't even bother trying to figure that out. Next is, you're not going to know this one. This is a project called Deerslayer. This is not metal. This is a really good friend of mine, Adam, who did this project back in, 2000 or so. This actually, I burned a copy of this album and another demo on CDR. This is the original. Highly experimental, sort of synth-driven, not sure what you would really call it. This has a really great drawing in it that I always loved. His artwork is always so fucking fantastic. So this is just a self-release CDR, probably only 10 or 15 copies of it or so. Called Birds vs. Buildings, if I'm not mistaken. I have a lot of this kind of stuff where my friends would put out music back in the day, and I'm the only sole caretaker of their music. In fact, if in case you're interested, I don't know if you would be. Many years ago, and still currently, kind of, I since I had so many copies of my local music scenes albums throughout the years, I went ahead and started putting them all up on Bandcamp, and saying that I said that if you wanted to pay for the downloads of the albums, I would just donate the money to charity. So I used it as a way to both save the music for posterity and also to raise money for various charities. So it's a resource for my local music scene. You can check it out on Bandcamp, 319dude.bandcamp.com. I want to say there's like 115 different albums and demos and stuff up there. Everything is up there at the permission of the artists. So check that out if you're interested. There's just all kinds of music from hardcore punk from the 80s, even back to I think 76. One of the demos dates back that far. Just all kinds of stuff. Not very much metal because there's never really been much of a music scene around here, but all kinds of interesting stuff. If you're looking for something just way off the deep end and you're curious what does Iowa's music sound like, it's a pretty good place to start. Next, I've got Defiance Void Terra Firma. I think I talked about this in my thrash death video. Anyways, this is a pretty dusty one. I don't listen to this very often. I just kind of remember this being one of the later thrash bands coming off a little generic, maybe somewhere kind of sounding like Pestilence or something like that. Not that Pestilence is generic, but this being kind of like a generic little brother of Pestilence. Anyway, it's on RC Records in 1990. RC predating Roadrunner. Got the band photo there. I can't really remember anything significant about this album, so I shouldn't try. Next is Defleshed. This is the album Under the Blade. I think I first heard this band on a compilation that came out maybe like on an SOD magazine or something. This is right around that time, pre-internet, where you just had to scramble to find bands to listen to. SOD was a magazine that we could get. Pit magazine was something we could get at Barnes & Noble. Metal Maniacs was also a big hitter back then. But Defleshed put out a couple of killer albums and then just poof, they were fucking gone. They're kind of like Swedish thrash metal, I guess. Really just like pummeling thrash metal. This drummer went on to play in Dark Funeral for a couple of albums. He also played in Sport Love. And he also plays on the new Sarcasm, which is a fucking killer Swedish death metal record. So this is Under the Blade. It also has a cover of Curse the Gods at the end. One of the better covers of Curse the Gods. In fact, I don't know what I'm saying. Every cover of Curse the Gods is pretty fucking great because that song is amazing. Next, I have Defleshed. This is a live album. Death, The High Cost of Living. Am I right on that being a live album? Yeah, it is a live album. I want to say it sounds just as good as their albums does, so it doesn't really kind of come off as a live album. But it's called, The High Cost of Living. That's a brilliant album title. Pretty short for an album, as you can tell, but they managed to cram in 7 songs. So, just another album by Defleshed. Next, I have Deicide, self-titled, and Legion, one of the originators of Floridian death metal, one of the best death metal bands there ever was. I used to play the shit out of the self-titled in my truck when I had it on cassette. This is one of those albums that I have, or at least used to have, I think, on all 3 formats. I have an original LP version of this one. The thing is, I can never remember which one I prefer, Legion or self-titled. They kind of just come off as the same thing to me anymore. Since I'm in this death metal phase, maybe I should pop them in and just kind of really dig in again for the first time in a long time. But these are both just absolute death metal essentials. I get why a lot of people would not really be interested in listening to them. Glenn Benton's vocals can kind of be stupid, obnoxious, childish, even unimaginative at times. But the music is just some of the most pummeling fucking death metal ever recorded. So complaining about the vocals is kind of pointless. Next, boy, this is an album living in infamy. De Infernale with Symphonia de Infernale. I don't think a lot of people know that this exists, but it's probably a good thing. So this is a solo project from John Notveit of Dissection, who is one of the more brilliant composers in all of metal. John got mixed in with the misanthropic Luciferian Order back in the late 90s, and I don't know anything about the misanthropic Luciferian Order, but apparently they're really into shitty techno. And this album is, I don't know, techno's not my thing, so I don't know if maybe this is good techno, but this fucking sucks. It's not even funny. It's not even good in a funny way. It's not even funny in a good way. That's just fucking bad, unlistenable garbage. I picked this up at Goodwill a couple of years ago for $3.38. Just kind of as a joke. I don't know, maybe I would have wound up getting it anyway. So I'm just kind of a completionist about my Dissection stuff. Except I won't buy Rain Chaos or any of that other fucking garbage that came out after he got out of prison. Anyways, yeah, the misanthropic Luciferian Order definitely ruined John's life and his artistic career. So on that poopy fucking note, that's the end of our collection update. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for subscribing, and let me know what you think about any of these titles down below. Links will be down there for you to enjoy at a later date. See you next time.